Hey everybody, it's Bearbag or Max, and today I'm going to be going over my gear for my upcoming 2014 Appalachian Trail through hike. Just a little background information. Today I'm going to be going over everything that I'm bringing. Some of this will be for the summer, some of it will be for the winter, some of it will be for both, and I'll go over all of the weights and what I'm using for what time. Just a little background information. The summer weight of my pack should be around 16 pounds with food and water, food being for 4 days. And my winter weight should be around 18.5 pounds with food and water. Once again, food for 4 days. I hope to keep my food down by stopping in towns every 4 days or so, but I aim closer to 3 days between town stops and food resupplies. That being said, I'm going to get started with my equipment. Alright, well, to start off, it's important whenever you're doing hiking equipment and you're picking out your gear to have a food scale. I find it very useful because sometimes the listed weights on a company's website aren't actually the weights of the equipment that you buy. Also, it's good to check the weight of those random things you throw in the pack before you head out because the ounces do add up. Now, as you can probably guess based on the weights I'm describing here, I am considered to be a Hyperlight hiker. And I find that, and I'll go into more detail on my blog and on the other side of my website, which describes my equipment that I make at Bearbag Gear. But Hyperlight hiking I find to be far more comfortable, far more enjoyable, and just as safe as if you carried everything, and sometimes more safe because you don't strain your body as much. That being said, I'm going to start all the way down here at the end with my backpack. My backpack here, this is the Gossamer Gear Murmur. It is Gossamer Gear's kind of middleweight day pack. It is 2,200 cubic inches, which I find to be more than enough, way more than enough for what I need, even in the winter. But that being said, I find it to be a very comfortable pack, very sturdy, and perfect for what I need this summer, and this winter for that matter. It weighs, by the way, 11 ounces. And that includes its hip belt. I don't use the back sit-light pad that they include with that. Instead, and I'll show you in a bit, I put something else back there to give myself some support when I'm hiking. Alright, next I have a buff. It's just a tube of fabric. I bought it in this high UV protection, partially because I wanted the UV protection, and partially because I wanted the visibility even when I'm not going to be hiking in hunting season on the AT. In preparation for my hike, I have been, so it's nice to have this vibrant orange. If you're lost or whatever, orange is a great way to get spotted. So I'm bringing this along. It functions as my balaclava, functions as my hat. It really functions whatever way kind of I need, and it works well. I'll get into it with my Patagonia Cap 4 hood to kind of keep my head warm. Let's see here, just looking up the weight here, the buff here weighs 1.4 ounces, so it's a good lightweight option to a lot of hats. Next I have my Cap 4, Patagonia Capline 4 onesie. In the winter, I use this as my hiking clothes. It weighs 12.8 ounces, so I use this as my complete hiking clothes in the winter, and in the summer I use this as my sleeping clothes to kind of keep, when you're hiking for long periods at a time, you get kind of sticky, sweaty, and this kind of keeps me from sticking to my bag and sticking to my hammock. So it switches functions when I switch into the summer. But it's an awesome piece of equipment, really keeps me warm, and it's a reasonable weight. It's comparable to carrying a hooded shirt and pants. Next I have my Patagonia Strider Pro shorts. Weighing in at 4.6 ounces. This is a 5-inch inseam. They're awesome. I wear them on top, in the winter I wear them on top of my, my Cat 4 onesie. They're awesome because they provide a lot of pocket space that I can use to store everything I need when I'm hiking. And in the summer I use them standalone. Now purely for the summer, I don't take this at all in the winter. This is an Icebreaker merino wool t-shirt. It weighs 4.95 ounces and is really just a phenomenal piece of equipment. My phone's going off there. Phenomenal piece of equipment. It because it's merino wool, it won't get as smelly as other clothes, and that's pretty nice. Although if you're a thru hiker, you're going to smell anyway, kind of regardless of what shirt you're wearing. Okay. Next I have my camp shoes. These are just some pretty standard, I don't even know the make of them, pilfered them from a closet somewhere. Standard lightweight flip-flops. They weigh 5.6 ounces. Throw them on. I throw them on with heavy socks in the winter. They're awesome. They've stood up to a lot of hikes, and I hope they continue to stand up over my thru hike. Okay, for socks. I do use liners. Specifically for liners, I use these Smart Wool compression socks. I kind of was turned on to them by a running store, and I'm going to talk more about that in a second. They weigh 2.35 ounces for the pair, but compression socks are supposedly, and I've had good results, they help recovery because they help move blood up from your feet, keep swelling down, and all are a healthy option. Plus, I find them to be a little bit more bulletproof than the liner socks that I've taken on my hikes in the past. Then these are some darn tough ankle socks that I wear outside. Once again, I do use ultralight shoes, so the ankle socks just work fine for me. They weigh 1.6 ounces, so they're perfectly light. And I'll get more into that with shoes, but a good rule of thumb is a pound on your feet is 5 pounds on your back. In other words, it takes about 5 pounds worth of energy to lift a pound of shoe or sock. And that's an important measure and something that a lot of people overlook when they're buying foot equipment or equipment for their feet. All right, next the iPhone and the and the headphones. I still haven't really decided how I'm going to use these in terms of if I'm going to listen to music when I'm hiking. I'm trying to plan less and just kind of live in the moment. But that being said, the iPhone is a phenomenal tool in case of emergency. I do like to listen to music at night before I go to bed, kind of regimented an hour. I shouldn't say music, actually. I listen to audiobooks, and that's fun for me to kind of relax, and it's a nice routine at the end of the day. I've also loaded up some digital hiking guides along with the digital version of the hiking guide, the AT guidebook, I think is what it's called. It's by AWOL. I loaded it up here even though I'm going to have it in paper form. And then the iPhone with the headphones weighs, looking at it here, 4.45 ounces. Okay, now on to shoes. These are Saucony Peregrine 4s. They just came out this year. They're very lightweight. They weigh, I want to say it's 9.95 ounces per shoe. Really wonderful shoes I found. Carbon fiber bottoms, really strong. I've taken them out on quite a few hikes in preparation. They've probably already done about 60 miles or so of hiking or treadmill, and they're holding up pretty well. I got them because I have very wide feet. And I went to a local running store, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name. It's located in Mystic. I live in Connecticut, so it's located in Mystic Village in Connecticut. And it's phenomenal because there's a few stores like this around the country where you can go in, and they will take a look at your foot, and they will tell you what kind of shoes you need based on your gait. They'll take a look at other shoes and how you're wearing them. And so they sized me up with these, and they are wonderful. Really, really great shoes. Okay, moving along here, we will get into, these are just kind of the random little things I'm taking with me. Starting up here with the Sawyer. Now this is the old Sawyer squeeze. I had it from past hikes. I'm not going out and buying the new one, even though it would technically save me a few ounces. This one weighs 3.45. I don't bring the bag because with this model, I don't know if they fixed it with the new ones, but with the old models, the bags that came with them ruptured really easily. But this is how I'll be purifying water. And I'll get a little bit more into that when I talk about my platypus bags. This is just a scoop made out of the bottom of a soda bottle. I melted the edge to keep it a little more strong. And what I do here is I use this to scoop water out of hard or difficult water sources. Oh, and then this weighs 0.35 ounces. Next, this isn't actually the light I'll be using, but it's essentially the same light, except mine will also have a head mount. It weighs 0.45 ounces. I find it to be enough for me to. I've night hiked with it. It's been wonderful. That's what I'll be taking. I don't use a headlamp anymore. I guess it's technically a headlamp, but it doesn't have a band. This is currently the knife I have. It's kind of like an Omni tool, but I don't really think I need most of it. It weighs 0.9 ounces, and I'm thinking about actually going a little bit smaller and a little lighter. Here's just a plastic spoon. It weighs 0.25 ounces. Standard Bic lighter, weighing at 0.75 ounces. Use that with my Caldera cone system. Now this Caldera cone is, I think it's the F keg or keg F system. I've taken out what I don't want, put in what I do want, and all told, with the bear bag or the bear hanging kit to hang my food, this weighs, with fuel as well, 11.7 ounces. So it's a really light option. And this is the pot, the stove, the fuel, windscreen, bear hanging. It's pretty good. Okay. This is just a sample of the guidebook I will be taking, weighing 2 ounces. It's just a section of AWOL's The AT Guide. And you can check it out at, I think it's theatguide.com. It's awesome. You can print out the pages you need as opposed to buying a whole book and cutting out the pages. The other nice thing about it is, unlike other guidebooks, you can see here, the descriptions of miles coincides also with a, no, it's not topographic, but it's a cross-section so you can see the elevation gain and loss, and I really like that a lot. Okay, on to kind of the toiletries. Here's some toilet paper, carry about an ounce or 0.85 ounces. This is some hand sanitizer. Now this is obviously a pretty big bottle, won't need this much, but even so, my weights that I'm listing today and my overall weights include this kind of size. Weight here is 2.3 ounces. These are 4 different types of bug repellent that I'm currently fooling around with. One of them, whichever one I pick, is going to end up weighing, looking here at the weight, it's going to end up weighing around an ounce or 0.9 ounces. That being said, they're all different bases. Some are deep based, some aren't. Some are lotions, some aren't, and I'm just going to kind of test them out, see which is the most comfortable. Just because they tend to make you really sticky when you're covering yourself in them, especially in the middle of your hike. Once again, another pretty big item. Definitely I'm going to downsize, but this is just some Gold Bond friction defense for chafing. I definitely need this. I've hiked in warm weather many times, and chafing is always an issue unless I prepare for it. But that being said, with this big stick of Gold Bond, looking at, once again, 3.1 ounces, so it's pretty heavy, but it's needed. Definitely going to downsize the size, though. Alright, this is a small first aid. I bought it from Hyperlight, or Only the Lightest. It's kind of both. It's a website. You should definitely check it out. It has really great stuff. This is their really light first aid kit that they sell there. It weighs 1.15 ounces, and it only weighs that much because I also included these really sharp tweezers that have a sharp edge, and that's really useful for getting ticks off. So I included that. Been fooling around with baby powder. In my non-hiking world, I never use it, but in the hiking world, I'm trying it out and seeing how that works in terms of chafing and blisters. This is once again a bigger thing than I'd probably need, but even so, it weighs, I'm looking here, oh, it weighs 2 ounces, so not too bad. Toothbrush, toothpaste, cut the toothbrush down, and might even drill some holes in it. Definitely use less toothpaste than this, but all told, that's 1.2 ounces. These are earplugs, really useful for shelters. The snoring, the mice, the random noises outside that sound like bears, whatever the reason is, they're really helpful. They don't even, I mean, I can't even weigh them with my food scale, so I'm saying that they weigh almost nothing. And then finally, this is just some diarrheal rash stuff, kind of in worst case scenario. Luckily, because I have such short stops between towns, or such short intervals between towns, I won't ever need to carry that much at a time. But that being said, this weighs, saying here, 0.6 ounces. So, all right, these are just assorted stuff sacks, all Cuban fiber. I use a lot of Cuban fiber in what I do, both in the equipment that I make, and then in terms of the stuff sacks that it came with a few pieces of gear that I didn't make myself. I love it. It's really light. It's durable. It works in certain occasions and doesn't work in others, and you just need to know how Cuban fiber works before you try to either sew it or use it. All my stuff sacks combined weighs 2.15 ounces, so pretty solid. The bags here are for my winter sleeping bag, my summer sleeping bag, and then kind of all of this random stuff in here. What's nice is that when I'm hiking in the winter, my camp clothes go in the summer bag, and then in the summer, I'll put my camp clothes in the winter bag, and it'll just be a little larger, so I just swap them out, and that way I don't have to buy extra Cuban fiber to do that. All right. Next, I'm going to move into the sleeping bags here. In the corner here, this is it's an older sleeping bag. It's an REI sub-kilo 20 degree. It's definitely not the lightest bag you can get out there. It's a 20 degree bag, weighs 1 pound 13 ounces. But it worked well for me last time, and depending on the weather, it's been a cold winter, so I've actually planned, you'll probably, if you've watched any other gear videos, you'll probably think that this is some pretty warm gear, but that being said, it works for me. Both of these bags I have modified using the Bear Bag, Keep the Bag You Have system. So it works with my hammock. I don't need a quilt. I don't need an underquilt. It goes around my sleeping bag, and you can see more videos and pictures of how that works. So it ends up saving me a lot of money and a lot of weight, and it's a part of the system that Bear Bag Gear, my company, sells. For summer, I'm using the Z-Pack 40 degree long and wide. I chose the long and wide because it fits around my my hammock better, giving me more room. Very comfortable, I found, especially with the hammock. That weighs 13.6 ounces. So both of them really, really great sleeping bags. Then on to kind of the rest of the bedding. This is, I caught this trick from someone on YouTube, and I thought it was awesome. This is a windscreen insulator that you can buy at Walmart for like $2. It weighs like 2.7 ounces. It has a little bit of foam, so a little bit of padding, but more importantly, it radiates the heat back. And so I put this underneath me, within my bag, and within my hammock. And it just kind of gets rid of cold spots in the hammock, even through the bag. Next, this is an emergency blanket. I've been fooling around with it, and I found that it's really, really nice, and it keeps me warm when combined with my sleeping bag and this windscreen pad, we'll call it. It weighs 1.7 ounces. So what I found is that with the windscreen, with the emergency blanket, and with my 20-degree bag, along with my camping clothes, I've been able to take this down to pretty much 0 degrees pretty comfortably. Now, I don't necessarily expect to get that kind of conditions on the Appalachian Trail. That being said, it can happen, and I'd rather have the equipment for it, especially if I can find lightweight ways to do it. Okay. Next piece of equipment. This kind of actually should have gone with food. This is what I actually put in behind my back as support in my backpack. It is also what I cook my meals in freezer bags. So I pour the boiling water into a freezer bag with the food already in it. What that does is it definitely cuts the weight, or cuts the time, I should say, in energy that you have to spend cleaning out your pots. And so at the end you just have a dirty bag that you can pack out. When you put it in, when you pour the hot water into the bag, you can then put it inside this, roll it up, flip it down, and then it'll cook inside here. And I really like it. I found it to be really useful, and it cooks and you can go do other things. You don't have to worry about your fuel because there's no real, the food is generating its own heat at that point. Alright, next is a little bug net that I made myself. Don't really know if I'll take it. It's useful as a stuff sack in certain situations, but it's just simply put, it's just a bug net. Fits over my head. I'm thinking about bringing it because the Z-Pack sleeping bag isn't a mummy bag. It doesn't go over my head. So in the summer, this could be a nice way to protect my head from bugs. I should give you the weight of this and of the food bag there. But this bug net weighs 0.55 ounces. And this back support in the food bag, the cook bag weighs 2.55 ounces. So this is all pretty light. Okay, round in the corner here, I'm going to get up. I have my hand. This is only in the winter. This is to keep my hands warm. These are polypropylene liner gloves. I got them once again from Hyperlight. Really nice. Weigh about an ounce, I want to say. I like them more than mittens. They're not as warm as mittens, but you have a lot more dexterity, so you don't have to. I found that with mittens, I'd end up having to take them off to set up camp, and that was just ended up being cold and kind of useless. So using these along with, these are still nylon liner, or I guess shells for my mittens. They're mitten shells. I make them myself. They're from Bear Bag Gear. All told, let's see here, we got, just looking up the weights, we have, the gloves weigh 1 ounce and the shells weigh 0.45 ounces. So altogether, once again, my hands have been down to near 0 degrees and pretty comfortable in these. So I have here is trekking poles. These are Nordic walkers. They're not really, at least from my understanding, they're not really trekking poles. I bought them at a consignment store up in Burlington. They're carbon fiber. They're very light. I don't have the weight of these, but I think they're around 11 or 12 ounces for the pair. Pretty light. They were really inexpensive, and that's what I use. I switched out the handles for something that I liked more, also from the same company. Alright. Next I have, and this is the only gear that I recommend with a caveat. This is the Mountain Laurel Cuban fiber chaps. They weigh, let's see here, we're just trying to, they weigh 1.75 ounces. They're Cuban fiber. I took them out on, it was a brief hike yesterday. It was only about 6 miles. The snow was up to my waist at times. But that being said, these did split, which irritated me because these are brand new. Since then, I've located the problem. The problem being that the seam was only done by tape. I've tried to rectify that as best as I could, and I'm interested to see how they work out in the future. So I can't really endorse them yet, but I'm planning on taking them and trying them out. I will be taking them for the winter. They help keep my legs warm when I'm wearing the Cap 4 onesie. And in the snow, I mean, they did keep my legs dry, so props there. I don't use rain chaps when I'm hiking. I don't use gaiters when I'm hiking in the summer, just because you get wet anyway, and I sweat, so it's kind of a moot point. Now, on to my camp clothes. What I am bringing for camp clothes, and it was a luxury I debated on, but when I started comparing weights, it ended up not being so bad. These are Montbell ultralight down pants. They weigh 7.7 ounces. They didn't really fit with what my Hyperlight idea of gear was, and then it occurred to me that it only weighed about an ounce more than some of the long johns I was considering taking, and these are a lot warmer. So I got them. They're awesome. Got them also from Hyperlight. They're made by Montbell, but bought them from Hyperlight. In terms of my jacket, this is also by Montbell. It's the ultralight down parka. It weighs 9 ounces. I will wear these at camp in the winter, and then I mail them home in the summer. Won't be using them at all, but they're phenomenal, and I will only be wearing these, so no underlayer in camp. Also in camp, I will be wearing, these are just some really heavy down or wool socks. Just checking it out here. It's 3.25 ounces, and they just keep my feet warm, especially when I'm using the flip-flops. All right, getting towards the end here. And you can check out my website, bearbaggear.com. It's actually the same website I'm posting this blog on, just the other side. I've designed and I'm testing out on this through hike something called the Bear Bag Cub Shelter System. It is a hammock, tarp, poncho shelter system. It weighs 15.5 ounces, at least the model that I have here. It works with the sleeping bags, and as I've said, it's a hammock, tarp, poncho. So what that means is that you set up your hammock, and the tarp that fits over you, you also wear during the day as your rain gear. Saving you weight, you don't have to carry around a rain jacket or a wind shell. At 15.5 ounces, it's the lightest shelter system I can find. And I love it a lot. And so, here's the tarp poncho. I keep them separated. When you buy them, they will come together in one stuff sack. I keep them separated because I like to have my tarp poncho on the outside of my pack in case I need to throw it on. This is the hanging. This is what you need to hang your sleeping bag and the tarp. I also keep it separated from the hammock and the tarp, not the sleeping bag. I keep it separated from the hammock once again because I like to set up my tarp before I set up my hammock, and it's the lines for both. And then this is the hammock itself. The hammocks are custom length to fit you, and therefore they also fit the sleeping bags that you use. Pretty small, very light, wonderful piece of equipment. Love it a lot. Well, I hope I love it. I made it. Alright, and then finally I have the 2 platypus bags. There's a 2-liter, which really, the 2-liter line is here, so it's more than 2 liters if it needs to be, and same here, this is a 1 liter with a little extra room as well. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but the camera cut out towards the end of my last video. So I'm just going to finish up talking about equipment real quick, and we'll be done. As I was just saying, the platypus, I'll be carrying both of them. One is 2 liter, one's 1 liter. They both have a little extra volume. Together they both weigh 1.8 ounces, so pretty light. I carry the platypus, the 2 liter, in my pack. This is the dirty water, so it's water that I will drink directly out of my Sawyer squeeze, or I will squeeze it into my 1 liter platypus, which I keep hanging on my pack. It helps distribute the weight of the pack better, and lets me keep an eye on my water. When I did the AT, or hiked on the AT last time in 2009, I found that sometimes I would drink through my water because I wasn't monitoring how much water I had in my backpack in the water reservoir. So that's the equipment. I look forward to testing it all out. I look forward to giving you guys updates as I go along about what worked and what didn't. Please check out the rest of the blog. There's some pretty cool stuff, descriptions of the different states along the trail, what I'll be doing, how I've been preparing, and then on the other side of my website you can check out descriptions of my Bear Bag Cub Shelter system that I'll be taking on the trail with me. Again, this is Bear Bag, or Max, signing off, and look forward to seeing you on the trail.